It has been an extraordinary, good, important, exciting World Forum for Democracy with so high attendance and so vibrant discussions. And I said it last year, and I say it again. This gives me a lot of energy to carry out the work in the organization. It's so important for the Council of Europe to open its doors to all of you that are not necessarily associated with the Council of Europe. You are associated with our standards and values, but it is important that we include all of you in our work. Now, the theme of the forum has been democracy and equality. Does education matter? I haven't heard it, but if somebody had said to me that education doesn't matter for democracy, after 40 years in politics, if somebody tries to convince me that this is truth, and if this is a truth, then I would go to my office and clean my desk and say goodbye to politics, because this would be contrary to everything I have believed in policy during 40 years, namely that education is indispensable for individuals, for their future, to get a job, to tackle daily life, to raise their children. And of course, it's indispensable for our societies that people are educated. And if you look at the history of Europe, which actually has been the history of Enlightenment, the Enlightenment period in Europe was based on knowledge, which gave way for new technologies and progress for humankind. And of course, this has contributed to a much better society, a much more fair society. So we have to carry on like this and believe that education, knowledge, progress are interlinked. And this is absolutely indispensable for the future that we are facing. How can we cope with all the important challenges ahead of us? For instance, climate change, if we don't build on knowledge and also new technologies. But there is a problem also in the information age. Thanks to internet, we have unprecedented information at our fingertips on every issue you can imagine and from every point of view. And not all of this is, of course, good. In fact, lots of it is very bad, angry, dogmatic, with little basis in truth. Therefore, it is incredibly important that we are able to assess information and that we have to differentiate between, so to say, knowledge and wisdom. Well, they are two very important things, but the fact that you have knowledge, are so-called intelligent, doesn't mean that you are a wise person. Wisdom is knowing how to interpret information, how to think critically, how to separate opinion from fact. And here the schools come in much more than in the past, because the flow of information is so overwhelming that if you are not able to separate facts from opinions, and if you are not able to, so to say, make your own opinion about the information you get, then you are lost. So here, and I come back to my, so to say, what I have believed in for 40 years in politics, that schools are one of the, well, it used to be a very important place where all people could meet, poor or rich, coming from different parts of the society. They went to the, in particular, and for me, with my political background, I would say the public schools. I'm talking about the public schools, to which everybody go. But today, it's even more important to have this in mind, because our schools are today one of the enduring spaces in which different members of our societies can meet. And there are very few spaces left in our societies, because our societies have become so fragmented. The workplace have become fragmented, and we are sitting on the internet, each and every one of us, and well, not talking face to face, but talking to each other on the internet. But the schools are the only place where we meet face to face. And we can receive the same knowledge, and we can discuss face to face. So I would say that the schools have become nearly a sacred place in our societies today. And of course, they are therefore the central tool we have to prepare young citizens for life in a fast-changing and globalized world. So this is true whether it is, we are talking about teaching languages, or whether we are talking about history, religion, the values of the Council of Europe, and whatever. And on that point, let me quote the Afghan Institute of Learning's Sakina Yaqubi, who so eloquently said this week that democracy is not something which just comes from somewhere. It is a step-by-step process of transformation which goes through education. It takes hours and hours of discussions with young people about their rights and how to defend them. It takes time and patience. It takes love and passion. This not to say that schools can do everything indeed. I have heard that also during my 40 years in politics, that every time we got a societal problem, politicians used to say, schools have to fix it. It was never true, of course, that schools were the only one that could fix very difficult societal problems. So we have to also to understand the limits of our education system to fix deficiencies in our democracies. But, and other actors also have to be held accountable. As Professor Colin Crouch said in his presentation, the responsibility to safeguard democracy is first and foremost on politicians and political parties, as we still have a representative democracy. And it is right to question the assumption that increasing spending on education or improving the quality of teaching will solve every problem. Reform in our education sectors is not a quick fix. It takes time to have an effect, and education doesn't stop at the school gates. Young people are constantly forming their attitudes and opinions in their homes, in their communities, online, which is why I would also like to pay tribute to the many educators who operate in non-formal environments, some of whom we have with us this week. So I will take two things away from this year's forum: confirmation that yes, education matters. It matters profoundly for tolerance, for progress, and for creating equality of opportunity in all of our societies. No one could seriously suggest that what democracies now is less of a focus on our education systems. But equally, we need to ask what else should be done to support wise and responsible citizens. Where else is information coming from? What other forces are shaping young people's opinions and views? And for that reason, I can announce that next year's forum will look at the growing problem of populism, looking particularly at the role of political parties and the media. I hope you will follow that debate so that we can pick up where we have left off here this week. Because what I also seen in politics, it has been a move towards more and more populism. And it has also to do with the new information society we have, where politicians, have you heard it? We have to react. We have to react immediately. And one is reacting very much on what is presenting on the television and on social media. And many of the problems we have today in the world came from this, that we have to react. We have to react immediately. Bomb Libya, start a war here, start a war there, without reflection in our society. When the information is flowing so fast, one has to react to what you see on the TV screen. You have to react what is said on the social media. But reaction is different from reflection. So there is very little time for reflection in politics today. And what Thomas Friedman, the famous columnist in the New York Times, wrote, that nowadays politicians get so many ideas in their heads from the social media, from Twitter, Facebook, and all this, that they tend to forget about their own ideas. And this is a major problem in politics today. And we have to now to discuss how politicians and journalism is interacting, and look upon how we can change also this. But again, for democracy, it is of course essential to have in mind that education and the schools are indispensable. Journalists and politicians are equally indispensable. So you see, there will be a thread from this forum to the next year's forum. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much for coming here, and I hope you indeed will come back to the forum next year. I'm very happy, I'm very impressed by the discussions that I'm to many conferences around the world, and very often you see the same people, the same celebrities, but here you see really people from the pluralistic societies, international community we do have. And on the other conferences which I referred to, very often people don't listen so much to each other. They are not in the assembly hall because they are sitting outside and tweeting and discussing and making photographs on the Facebook. Here you have been in this room. Thank you very much for that. That's how we want to see a dialogue in our democracies. Thank you very much.